Let's look at the following problem on equilibrium. A uniform cube of side length of 10 centimeters rests on a horizontal surface. So this is the cross-sectional view of that cube. The coefficient of static friction between the cube and the floor is mu. So right here. A horizontal pull force F is applied perpendicular to one of the vertical faces of the cube, as indicated here, and it is applied at a distance 8 centimeters above the floor. And it is also applied on the vertical midline of the cube face. What that means is, so if that is the cube face that is not visible in the cross-sectional diagram, and we have sketched it over here, this is the midline of the cube face, and that is the point of action of that force F. Note, it is 8 centimeters above the floor. The magnitude of force F is slowly increased. For what values of mu will the cube begin to tip? So if this force is increased a little bit by a little bit, after a certain amount of time, this entire cube will start to tip about that point. So for what values of mu will that begin to happen? The border in orange shows the position when it is tipping. We want to consider the dynamic of the system just before that happens. So let's look at the free body diagram. We know F is one of the forces that is acting directly on this cube. The other one is, of course, the weight of this cube that acts exactly through the middle. And then you have the static friction that acts between the surface of the cube and the floor. And as the cube starts to tip, the normal force will shift exactly at that point, like that, because that becomes the sole point of contact of the cube with the floor. The distance from here to the tipping point has got to be half of the side of the cube. So in this case, the sides are 10 centimeters, half of that is 5. As it's about to tip, of course, this force must be the same as that. So F equals the static friction. As we know, the static friction is given in terms of an inequality, which says it is less or equal to the coefficient of static friction times the normal force. So using this part of that inequality, we can write capital F, the pull force, has got to be less or equal to mu times n. Or in other words, mu, the coefficient of static friction, is greater or equal to F over n. The other thing that we can conclude is just before it starts to tip, this and this must be the same. So the normal force equals the weight. So far we have been dealing with only the condition 1 of static equilibrium. Now let's turn our attention to condition 2 of static equilibrium. Let's try to calculate the net torque about that tipping point. So the forces that would contribute to such a torque calculation would be this force and the weight, because the normal force and static friction are passing exactly through that axis of rotation. That would make the moment arm to be 0, so the contribution to torques from these two forces are 0 as well. So the torque due to the pulling force F equals force F times the perpendicular distance to the axis of rotation, which in this case is 8. Likewise, the torque due to the weight equals the force weight times its perpendicular distance to the axis of rotation, which is 5 centimeters. As you can see, the torque due to force F would tend to rotate the cube like that, and the torque due to weight W will tend to rotate the cube like that. So they have opposite signs. If this is a positive torque, then this has got to be the negative torque, such that when they add up, you get 0, according to condition 2 of static equilibrium. So we write F times 8 equals W times 5. Now I have maintained the distances in centimeters because the conversion factor would cancel out, so it doesn't matter what unit for length you use, whether it's centimeters or meters. Now let's substitute the fact that the normal force equals to weight in this inequality, like that. And from this equation that we have just found, the ratio of F over W is 5 over 8. So there we have it. Mu is greater or equal to 5 over 8. So it's fair to say that when mu is greater than 5 over 8, or 0.625, the cube will begin to tip. And that solves the problem. Problem 2. Figure below shows a stationary arrangement of 2 boxes and 3 courts. So box 1, box 2, court 1, court 2, and court 3. A has a mass of 10 kg and it is on a ramp at an angle of 30 degrees. So theta is 30 degrees. B has a mass of 6 kg and hangs vertically on a court. The court connected to A is parallel to the ramp. That is this one. And there is no friction between A and the ramp. Find the tension in this court, court C, and also the angle alpha that it makes with the horizontal. Let's look at the free body diagram of body A. Of course, this part of that string has a tension. Let's call it TA. And then you have the weight. Since mass of A is 10 kg, is 10g. And then there is this normal force, N. 10g has 2 components. One component is parallel to the plane, and that is 10g times sine of theta, or sine of 30 degrees. And the other component is the component that is perpendicular to the plane, which is 10g times cosine 30 degrees. So this is the same as that. We know that. And since you don't have any friction, it doesn't come into play. Using the components of the forces acting along the plane, we immediately can write that TA equals 10g sine 30. So sine 30 is 1 over 2. So TA is 5 times g. Now let's look at the mass B. There are 2 forces. One is its weight. Since we know the mass is 6 kg, so the weight is 6 times gravity. And then you have this tension in that court that is holding it vertically. Let's call it TB. So immediately you can write TB equals 6g. Next, let's look at this point where all the courts are connected. So you have tension here in that court, TC. You have tension here, TB. And this tension is TA. As far as this connection or connecting point is concerned, TA goes like that and TB goes downward. You notice TC has 2 components, the X component, which is going like that, TCX, and Y component which is going up, TCY. So TCY must be balanced by TB and the Y component of TA. So we write TCY equals TB plus the Y component of TA, which is TA cosine of that angle. Cosine of that equals sine of that, which is sine of theta. So TA sine 30 degrees. In terms of TC, TCY is TC cosine of that angle, or sine of that angle, sine alpha. So let's put everything together. TC sine alpha equals TB, which is 6g from here, plus TA, TA is 5G, times sine 30 degrees. Sine 30 degrees is half. So there you go, you have equation 1. Now let's analyze the forces along the horizontal direction or along the x-axis. As you can see, TCX, in terms of TC, it is just TC cosine alpha. TC cosine alpha, you get the x component of it, and that is balanced by the x component of TA, going like that. TB doesn't have any x component, so it doesn't contribute here. So TC cosine alpha equals TA cosine of that angle, which is theta. So cosine of theta or cosine of 30 degrees. So let's rewrite it here. TC cosine alpha equals TA, which we know to be 5G, times cosine 30. Cosine 30 is square root 3 over 2. So that is equation 2. What we are interested in is the tension in chord C, TC, and the angle alpha it makes with the horizontal. 2 equations, 2 unknowns. Of course, the right-hand side of equation 1 can be written as 8.5G. Now let's try to solve the 2 unknowns. When you take equation 1 and you divide that by equation 2, the left-hand side will simply become tangent alpha, and the right-hand side becomes 8.5G over 5 square root 3 over 2G. So G will go away and you can solve for alpha. And alpha turns out to be 63 degrees. Now putting the alpha equals to 63 degrees in equation 1 enables you to solve for TC. It becomes 8.5G over sine 63 degrees. And that's going to give you an answer of 93.6 newtons. And that solves the problem. As always, thank you for watching.